The dashboard camera footage shows the intersection from above, time-stamped, unremarkable, until the car in the left lane brakes hard for no visible reason and swerves into the shoulder 4 seconds before a delivery truck runs the red light through the exact space it would have occupied. There is nothing on the recording to explain why the driver reacted before there was anything to react to. No brake lights ahead of them, no horn, no warning of any kind visible in the frame. This is the 7th time in 14 months that the same intersection has produced the same impossible sequence, and the insurance company reviewing the footage has finally stopped calling it luck. The case reached the agency through a claims investigator named Priya Anand, who had been assigned to review the intersection after a routine audit flagged an unusually low payout rate for a location with a genuinely high accident frequency. Drivers kept avoiding collisions that every projection said should have happened, and Priya's own supervisors assumed she was simply looking for patterns in noise, the way people find faces in static. She brought the 7 incident files to the agency instead of closing the audit, because in every single case, the footage showed the same detail: a driver reacting to danger between 2 and 6 seconds before any other vehicle entered a collision path. Agents Ethan Cole and Victoria Hayes were given the files with one specific instruction from Priya: verify whether this was a pattern of exceptional local drivers or something the intersection itself was doing to the people passing through it. Cole and Hayes drove out to the intersection themselves rather than relying on the footage alone, walking the full length of the crossing on foot during the same hour of day as 3 of the 7 incidents. Cole noted immediately that the intersection had unusually poor sightlines, a delivery company's loading dock blocking the view of oncoming cross traffic from the westbound lane, which should have made it more dangerous, not less. Hayes pulled the traffic light timing records from the city and found nothing unusual there either. No faulty signal, no historical redesign, nothing on paper to explain why drivers here reacted faster than physically reasonable. While Cole studied the sightlines, Hayes crouched at the edge of the crosswalk and ran her hand along a deep groove worn into the curb, a groove far too consistent and too smooth to have come from ordinary foot traffic. She photographed it from 3 angles and sent the images to a materials specialist back at the agency, who would later confirm the wear pattern matched repeated contact from a specific type of tire rubber, the kind used almost exclusively on delivery trucks in that size class, deposited in the same 6-inch stretch of curb hundreds of times over what the wear rate suggested was decades, far longer than the current intersection layout had existed. Hayes returned to Priya's 7 case files and pulled the full witness statements attached to each one, not just the insurance summaries, and found something the summaries had flattened out. In 4 of the 7 cases, the driver who swerved early gave a statement, on record, saying they had experienced a brief, disorienting flash of déjà vu in the moment right before they braked, as though they had already lived through the next several seconds once before. None of the 4 drivers knew each other. None of them had ever driven through that intersection at that specific time before the incident. 2 of them described the sensation using nearly identical language, saying it felt like watching a scene repeat rather than seeing it happen for the first time. Hayes drove out personally to speak with 2 of the 4 drivers who had described the déjà vu sensation, rather than relying on the insurance company's phone transcripts. The first, a delivery courier himself, grew visibly uncomfortable discussing it, admitting he had never told his own family the full version of what he felt, worried they would think something was wrong with him. He described it not as seeing the future exactly, but as a specific physical certainty in his hands, as if his body had already turned the wheel once before and was simply repeating a motion it remembered. The second driver, an off-duty nurse, said the sensation lasted less than a second but left her shaking for nearly an hour afterward, convinced she had somehow already died at that intersection once and just kept driving anyway. This connected directly to what Priya had asked them to determine: if 4 separate strangers were independently reporting the same sensation at the same intersection, the explanation was not exceptional driving skill. Something about that specific stretch of road was giving people a preview of a future that had not happened yet, and only some of them were reacting to it correctly. Cole went back out to the intersection at night, alone this time, parking near the loading dock to watch the crossing during a stretch of hours matching none of the 7 prior incidents, hoping to understand the mechanism rather than simply document more cases. Nothing happened for nearly 3 hours, until a sedan approached the intersection from the east and, without any signal or provocation, drifted slightly toward the shoulder for no more than 2 seconds before straightening out and continuing normally. No truck ran the light that night. No collision was narrowly avoided. Cole radioed Hayes to check whether anything unusual had occurred anywhere nearby in the minutes after, and was told that 7 minutes later, on the opposite side of town, a nearly identical delivery truck ran a red light at an entirely different intersection, empty at the time, causing no collision because no car happened to be in its path. Hayes cross-referenced delivery company dispatch records for that night and confirmed the truck that ran the second red light was scheduled, on its original assigned route, to have passed through Cole's intersection at almost the exact moment the sedan had drifted, before a last-minute dispatch change rerouted it elsewhere. The intersection had reacted to a collision that was supposed to happen there, and technically still happened, only 40 minutes later and 6 blocks away, after the routing accident diverted its own cause somewhere else. Cole tracked down the original responding officer from the fatal crash 19 years earlier, now working private security at a warehouse 2 towns over, and drove out to speak with him in person rather than over the phone. The retired officer remembered the scene with unsettling clarity for something so old, describing how the delivery driver who died had, according to 2 witnesses at the time, visibly hesitated at the wheel for what one of them swore was a full 2 seconds before the impact, as though caught between 2 different decisions. The officer had always assumed it was simple panic. Hearing Cole describe the 7 recent incidents, he went quiet for a long moment before saying that it sounded less like panic and more like someone running out of time to finish reacting to something they had already started reacting to. The turn came when Cole and Hayes pulled the intersection's full incident history, going back further than Priya's 14-month window, uncovering a fatal collision at that same corner 19 years earlier, before the loading dock existed, before the current traffic pattern was installed, a crash that killed a delivery driver who swerved too late to avoid an oncoming car. The city rebuilt the intersection's layout less than a year after that crash, altering the sight lines, changing the signal timing, effectively erasing the conditions that caused the original accident. But the accident itself, the specific 2 to 6 second window in which a driver could have swerved and did not, had never actually been prevented. It had only ever been delayed, redirected, still owed to whichever driver happened to be passing through at the moment the pattern reasserted itself, decades later, in whatever form the road could still deliver it. Priya has quietly flagged the intersection for a full engineering review, though she admitted to Hayes she has no idea what recommendation to write that would actually address a cause nobody in her department believes exists. Cole requested, and received, informal cooperation from the delivery company to review dispatch routing near the intersection going forward, watching specifically for any future last-minute rerouting that might signal the pattern preparing to discharge itself again somewhere else. Hayes has begun compiling a list of every intersection within the county that underwent a major layout change following a fatal accident, wondering privately, though she has not said it aloud to Cole yet, how many other roads might be quietly carrying a debt nobody ever actually closed. The agency has asked the city to hold off on any further modifications to the intersection until they can determine whether altering it again might simply relocate the pattern a second time, the way the original renovation 19 years ago apparently already did once before. Cole's closing note observes that some intersections do not forget what almost happened to them, and some debts, once incurred, get collected eventually, regardless of how many years or how many streets separate the moment they were owed from the moment they finally come due. The agency does not go looking for its next case. Most weeks, the next case finds them first. 3 days after closing the file on the intersection, Hayes received a call from a rare book dealer in the next county over, his voice careful and deliberately unhurried, the way people sound when they have rehearsed how not to seem insane. He wanted to know, before he said anything else, whether the agency handled situations involving items that seemed to know things about their own future owners before those owners had ever walked through the door.